There are some things about learning the piano that I wish I knew as a beginner. In particular, I didn't know what to practice, and I didn't think the piano was cool. So if you're a beginner and you've just started learning the piano, hopefully these ideas are going to save you years of your life. Number 1, you don't actually need sheet music. When I started learning the piano, I was tied to sheet music. I thought that's how you play music. You can't do it without sheet music. I couldn't sit at the piano and just play. I think that's a problem, and if you're focusing too much on sheet music, you're neglecting in fact the ear, which is way more important, because music is something that you hear and something that you feel in your body. It's not something that you see. Don't get me wrong here, sheet music is good and still practice it, but you want to put more emphasis on ear. Also, you want to cultivate a sense of freedom on the piano. You want to be able to sit at the piano and to just play, to have fun, and to start expressing yourself in the moment spontaneously. It's called improvising. When you can improvise, you've unlocked the greatest joy of playing music. You can sit at the piano and you can have fun. When I started learning, I couldn't do this. Okay, so how do we actually realize this kind of freedom on the piano? Try just sitting at the piano and just playing, say, a C major triad, okay, in the left hand. And then in the right hand, just play any white notes. And don't judge it. Don't think that it sounds bad. Don't judge how it sounds. Just play music and just see what happens, see how it feels, see how it sounds, right? And do this regularly, and this is going to allow you to develop a connection with the piano, because that's what you're really trying to build here. You're trying to build a connection with the instrument and a sense of freedom. You also need to start developing the ear. Take one of your favorite songs, right, and listen to the melody. Listen really closely to the melody, and then at the piano, try to find those melody notes, right? And do it by ear, okay? So you hear the first note and then you try to find that, and then you play that. It literally experiment, like play all the notes around it until you find that note. This is ear training, okay? This is basic ear training. Do this every day and you're going to develop the ear. Okay, the second thing I wish I knew as a beginner pianist is that finger exercises and scales are actually important and you should practice them every day. Talking about sheet music, I've just got this big stack of sheet music here. Don't throw away your sheet music, it's still good, but just focus on the ear, that's what I'm saying. My teacher gave me this book here, which is the Book of Hannon, finger exercises, right? And I hated it. It sucked. I never practiced it, and it was just such a drudgery. And I hated it. I hated every part about it. It's because I never understood why finger exercises and scales are actually important to practice. Okay, why are they important? The truth is that finger exercises and scales unlock the fingers. When you start learning the piano, your fingers are locked. They're like wooden blocks. You can't, there's nothing there, right? You need to develop strength and dexterity and speed and, you know, fluidity in the fingers, and you're gonna do that by practicing finger exercises and scales regularly. Here's what's going to happen if you practice finger exercises and scales on a regular basis. You're going to build good technique. You're going to build dexterity in the fingers. You're going to build strength in the fingers. You're going to develop precision and evenness. You know those times when you try to hit a note, but you don't hit the note and you hit the notes around it? Yeah, you're gonna fix that. You're gonna get precision. Also, you're gonna develop your dynamic range, where like, it's called touch and it's called depth, where like you play a note and you know exactly what you're trying to achieve with that note. You wanna make that note sound really sad, so you play a little ding. Or you wanna make that note sound really like bold and rich. You wanna, you know, play it like strong. When you start learning, when you haven't practiced many finger exercises or scales, your depth capacity is like 10%. You only have 10% of range within the fingers, range of expression. The more you practice, you got 20%, 30%, 40%, 100%, 1000%, right? The masters of the piano, they have such a depth of expression where like they know exactly what emotional expression they want to make with every single note that they play, because they've practiced these things for years and years and years. Scales is a discipline. When you practice scales, you develop discipline in yourself. Discipline to show up to your instrument, discipline to practice. And I highly recommend that you do it every single day. You don't have to do much. When you're starting out, 5 minutes is enough. Practice 5 minutes every single day, and I promise you, your fingers are going to be unlocked and you'll be able to express yourself. You'll be able to achieve emotional depth with your music. And that's OP. Okay, the third thing I wish I knew as a beginner pianist is that knowing the basics unlocks the piano. So there is this saying that I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite sayings, and it says, do the basics, get 90% of the results. I love this saying because it's true for pretty much everything in life, and it's absolutely true for the piano. If you practice and master the basics, you're gonna get so far. I'm gonna share with you 5 basics that I think if you practice regularly, these things will unlock the piano for you. Number 1 is finger dexterity. We've already talked about that in the previous point. Number 2 is the major scale in every key. Number 3 is triads. Number 4 is arpeggios, and number 5 is hand independence. So there are a lot more basics, but I think honestly, these are like the core foundational basics. And I say this because a lot of music and a lot of what piano players play at high levels is all just built upon these things. If you are sitting at the piano and you don't know what to practice, just think, okay, I could just practice the basics right now. And you never stop practicing the basics. You always practice the basics. Always practice basic techniques, and it's gonna take you so far on the piano. And especially when you're a beginner, you wanna build that really strong foundation. You wanna practice the basics. So I wanted these first 3 points to be more practical, and I really hope that you got some value from them and you genuinely practice these things that I'm talking about, because it's gonna take you far. But if you've made it this far into the video, it means that you're quite committed to the piano journey. And so the next 3 points I want to be really inspiring. I want to open your mind to what the piano can be for you in your life. Because when I started learning, as I said, I hated this instrument. I didn't think it was cool. And I wish someone would tell me, in fact, it's a really cool instrument and it's going to take you on an epic life journey. This is what I'm going to share with you now. Okay, so the 4th thing that I wish I knew as a beginner pianist is that the piano is a way that I can express myself creatively. When I started learning the piano, I didn't know that the piano was a place where you could become an artist. I didn't know it was something upon which you could create your own stuff on, upon which you could express what was inside. I didn't know this. As I said, I was tied to sheet music. I was stuck playing other people's music, and I didn't even know it was possible to play my own music. I didn't even know there was a concept. I didn't know that the piano was a place you could sit at and express your emotions. If you're having a hard day, you can sit at the piano and you can let it all out. You can express those emotions. You can explore those emotions. You can create your own piece of art, right? You can compose music. You can sit there and improvise. You can have fun. You can jam with people. It's such a creative place, right? The 5th thing I wish I knew as a beginner is that the piano is in fact a doorway to a world of sounds. When I started learning the piano, I only ever saw it as a piano, as that big wooden thing in the lounge. But when you learn the piano, you're not actually learning that big wooden thing. What you're really learning, what you're really gaining facility over, is the keyboard. This thing here, right? When you have facility over the keyboard, you can also play so many other kinds of instruments. For example, you can play the organ, you can play the synthesizer, you can play clavinet, you can play Rhodes, electric piano. Even better, there's this thing called a MIDI keyboard, right? So this right here is a MIDI keyboard because it's plugged into my computer, and there's such a software called a DAW software. You plug in your keyboard and suddenly you have access to unlimited sounds because you can play this thing here. You can play the keyboard. So if you load up an orchestra on the computer, you can play an orchestra. You can play an orchestra. You can play horns. You can play strings. You can play every sound under the sun. You can even play the drums through this thing. You can do anything. Okay, it's crazy. As such, you can compose film music. You can compose music for games. You can produce hip-hop beats. You can produce lo-fi beats. The potential is ridiculous. And I'm telling you this right now, I didn't know this for half of my journey on the piano. I had no idea. what was possible with this instrument. So if you learn and if you practice the piano, you're suddenly going to gain facility and gain access to this enormous universe of sounds that you can suddenly play through the computer or through other keyboards, right? I actually see the keyboard as kind of like a master key that allows you to unlock just so many doors in music. It's ridiculous. It's actually ridiculous, okay? Hey, by the way, if you're getting value from this video, I just wanted to let you know that I've started an online free community called Unlock the Keyboard, where I'm actually working on building an online course and community dedicated to helping you unlock this epic instrument and start to wield this master key. I'll leave a link in the description so you can check it out. I'll see you over there. The sixth and final thing I wish I knew as a beginner pianist is that the piano offers an adventure. When I started learning the piano, I wasn't grateful for getting lessons. Why would I be? I actually resented it. I hated going to see my piano teacher every week. It sucked because there was no sense of adventure. And in fact, I spent my entire teenage years playing video games, playing MMORPGs where I was actually cool and I was going on an adventure. That's what I want my life to feel. That's what I've always wanted my life to feel. I've wanted it to feel like an adventure. Back then when I was a beginner, the piano had no meaning. It had no purpose to it. There was nothing there. I couldn't envision a future with it. But I'm telling you this right now, the piano has been my ticket to a life of adventure, to a life of purpose and meaning, to a life of connection, to a life of creativity and passion and exploration and travel. All of these things I have unlocked because I committed to the piano. I have busked in Queenstown, which is called the adventure capital of the world. I have recorded my own piano compositions in the same mountains that the Fellowship of the Ring walked in the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movies, right? I have hiked my keyboard in these same mountains. I have played on the world's longest grand piano, and in fact I've recorded an album on it, and that was pretty crazy. I have played gigs in some incredible venues. I've played in a rock climbing gym. I've played in the First Church of Otago. I've played in so many cool little unique venues, I've toured my country several times with bands, and with my friends. I have made so many friends with the piano, and I have met so many interesting and unique characters in my life because of the piano. The piano has allowed me to connect with other people, to have an impact on other people's lives. And the crazy thing is that I feel like I'm only just getting started. Like, there's just so much ahead. It's such an epic, vast journey. And I don't think enough people talk about this. Like, if you learn the piano or if you learn any instrument, you're undertaking a hero's journey. It's a freaking epic journey. So, I'm getting so excited here. I'm getting worked up. Music is our gift to the world. If you're watching this video and if you've made it this far, it means that you're inclined towards music. That you're inclined towards this world of passion and purpose and meaning with music and adventure with music. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really wish you the absolute best on your piano and music journey. Please let me know how it goes. If you need any extra help or guidance, I am here for you. Just let me know. Vibe and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.